This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. This is episode number 335, and my guest today is Larry Goins. Larry is a well-known investor and educator, and he's one of the top HUD investors in the country. HUD homes are foreclosures that were insured by essentially the federal government, which are now being resold, opening up an opportunity for other investors. Larry has purchased hundreds of HUD homes and is actively buying 10 to 20 new HUD homes each and every month. He's here today to teach us all about HUD properties and provide advice on how you too can start buying HUD homes. Please help me welcome Larry Goins to the show. Larry, welcome to the show, my friend.
What's happening?
Did you wear that hat for me today?
No, actually, I got this hat for Christmas, and
Okay.
I love it. I've been wearing it every day.
You haven't taken it off yet. Okay. Looks good. Looks good, man. Fits you well.
Appreciate that.
Hey, so we're excited to have you on today. And as I was telling you, I mean, obviously you're known as the HUD house guy, and I know a few people that buy HUD houses, but nobody that I've had on the show before other than you that we've really gone into a lot of detail. And I think I'm excited to talk about it because it's, you know, we're at episode 335 here.
Wow.
There's not a lot of topics that we haven't covered.
That's
and
awesome.
so, you know, there was a time where I felt like every third show was talking about self-directed IRAs again. We got to find some variety here, and hopefully our listeners didn't get turned off by that. But this is going to be an exciting episode. I'm excited to talk about HUD houses. Excited to talk to you today.
That's awesome, man. Me and you both.
Yeah.
And you both. I love HUD houses.
Yeah. Well, hey, before we kind of dive into it, for those that don't know you, which I know a lot of folks do know you, but for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Larry Goins. I live in Lake Wylie, South Carolina. It's just across the state line from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I bought my very first house in the early 80s. In fact, it was probably 85, 86, something like that.
Okay.
A long time ago. My very first deal, Mike, was an FHA non-qualifying assumable loan.
Oh, wow.
And most people don't even remember those. But
there's some discussions right now to bring assumptions back. I don't know if you know that, but
wow, that would be awesome.
That would be interesting. Simple assumptions. You pay $25, $30 and just take it over.
That would be great. But you know what? It probably won't be available for investors, owner occupants only, because it was available to investors for a while, and then they stopped that, just like they did the FHA 203K loan.
Well, I know Bruce Norris is actually meeting with Fannie and Freddie to say, hey, if you guys want to take the risk away from taxpayers, just let investors assume these things. And so that'd be interesting to see if they've actually been calling them out, from my understanding, to have those discussions. So that's interesting.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, hey, what the heck is a HUD house?
Well, that's a great question. A HUD house basically started as an FHA loan. Now, FHA doesn't make loans. They insure loans. You go to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whoever, and you get a loan, and it meets FHA guidelines, but the lender actually makes the loan, but FHA insures the loan. A portion of the payment every month goes to pay that premium, the insurance premium. So if the borrower defaults, then Bank of America or Wells Fargo, they will contact FHA, they'll cash in their insurance policy, FHA pays them off, and then FHA forecloses, it becomes a HUD house.
Okay. And all that stuff is just derived from the government feeling the need to get involved to help America's own homes, right?
Stimulate the economy, put people in debt.
The American dream.
Exactly.
The American dream isn't to be enslaved in debt. I thought they sell it a little bit different way.
I want to stimulate the economy, and I'm doing my part by putting as many people in debt as I can.
Yeah. So let's talk about, as an investor, let's talk about that opportunity. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to buy houses. You could advertise directly to home buyers and sellers, which you still might to get those homes, right? But talk about how you kind of find HUD homes, or where do they kind of sold at?
Well, the greatest part is it's all available at one place. There's only one place you can buy a HUD house, and that's HUD Home Store. HUDhomestore.com.
Yep.
HUDhomestore.com. Now, they won't let just investors like us bid, okay? All bids are submitted by a realtor, a state licensed realtor in the state where the property is located, okay? State licensed realtor with what's called an NAID number. That stands for National Identifier Number, okay? Now, you can also, as a nonprofit, if you have a nonprofit or you're associated with a nonprofit, they can also get an NAID number, or a government agency can as well. But for the most part, you're going to use a realtor with an NAID number, and they're going to be submitting your bids for you.
Okay. Okay. And talk about what some of the advantages are. Why would somebody want to target a HUD home versus just, because a lot of times are they typically listed on the MLS as well, right?
Well, the thing I love,
do they have to be, or?
Well, they are listed on the MLS, but quite frankly, I don't know why, because the listing agent doesn't really do anything, you know. But basically, they're all at HUDHomestore.com, but they are also on the MLS. They all have a listing agent, okay? Yeah. And they pay the listing agent and the buyer's agent a commission. Okay. Now, some of the reasons I love HUD houses is I've done direct mail, I've done bandit signs, I've done marketing, I've done all different kind of things. Okay, and I'm a firm believer you need 5 to 10 different ways to market at any given time.
Yeah.
But with HUD, there's no phone calls, there's no negotiating, there's no direct mail, no bandit signs, no marketing, advertising, and no expenses. I have a zero marketing budget.
Wow.
For HUD deals.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can, I know you and some other folks I know that do this too. You can systematize it, right? You can basically buy from your desk instead of out meeting with truthfully, the way I bought hundreds of houses, the way that I teach everybody is marketing and sitting at the kitchen table with somebody to buy houses. So yeah, we got to look at a whole bunch of deals to get one, and we got to build relationships with a whole bunch of different people that we're going to build a relationship with one time and never see them again. And you got to go through the dog and pony show a lot, right?
Exactly. And with HUD, you're not negotiating because, I'm a firm believer if you're going to be a long-time real estate investor and you're going to get really good at it and you're going to do it full-time, you need to be a good negotiator. Yeah. But with HUD, you don't have to. There is no negotiating. It's all done on the computer. Yeah. And HUD is a computer, and you just put in your bid, and then you wait and see what happens. And there's basically several things that can happen. But some other things I love about HUD is most of them, not all of them, because real estate is local, but most of them are listed below market value, okay? And another good advantage is they always provide you with what's called a PCR, Property Condition Report.
Ah, okay.
Now, it's not going to tell you if you need, like paint and carpet or the countertop is messed up. However, it's going to let you know the major things, the roof, the foundation, the HVAC, the wiring, and the plumbing. And those are all your major expenses.
Right.
So you can look right on the PCR and you can see from an inspection exactly what was done and what passed and what didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Larry, you talked about, what you need to do to be able to bid on properties. And correct me if I'm wrong, don't HUD houses typically, they're only available to owner occupants unless they need a certain amount of repairs? Or tell me a little bit about that. Tell us about that. It's time for a quick announcement. We'll be back to the show in less than 30 seconds. PassiveRental.com is your source for turnkey, done-for-you rental properties. If you'd like to be an investor and not a landlord, please visit PassiveRental.com to learn how to purchase cash-flowing, professionally managed rental properties in the hottest rental markets across the country. We can also help connect you with financing for your next property. Invest the easy way today and get started by visiting PassiveRental.com. Don't HUD houses typically, they're only available to owner occupants unless they need a certain amount of repairs? Or tell me a little bit about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up. Now, it used to be in different areas of the country, it could be anywhere from 15 to 30 days. As soon as a property was listed, it was only available to owner-occupied buyers.
Okay.
Now, as the market gets tighter, that number of days shorten, and there's no specific amount of days all over the country. I've seen some areas, I go and speak, in California, Ohio, Texas, all around, and they might say 15, 30, 5, 10, whatever.
Okay.
But now, with the way the market is turned, and it's a hotter market, it's a seller's market, I've seen consistently around 15 days. Now, I will tell you this, though. I've seen a few areas, and even in my own market, where they don't even hold them for owner-occupied buyers any length of time. In other words, an investor could bid on it on day one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And is there something about the property condition too? Like if it needs over a certain amount of repairs that do they market it differently? Because obviously first-time home buyer is not going to buy a house that needs $20,000 in foundation work for or they just don't differentiate it?
Well, there's what's called insured and uninsured.
Okay.
You cannot get an FHA loan to buy a HUD house.
I see.
If it's uninsured. Now, sometimes they also, if you're getting,
and they'll tell you that whether it's insured or uninsured.
Right. That's in the listing actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's in the listing.
So that's a sign to investors like, hey, this, a lot of your competition that could be a homeowner is gone, right?
Exactly. If it's in good shape in a good area and it's priced right, I mean, listen, I've bought a lot of HUD houses at 50, 40, 30, even 20% of list price. We had one not too long ago. I think it was listed for $45. We paid $8,800 for it.
Wow.
And I got one just last week. It was listed for $76 and we paid $26,600, which is 35% of list price. And get this, here's the best part. It was only on the market for 19 days.
Wow. So let's talk about bidding. I mean, there's got to be some strategy there. And I'm sure we'll talk about kind of maybe how you do it, because I know you kind of do it in volume. It's a major strategy for you, but just in terms of, let's just not talk about volume yet. Let's just talk about how would you know how much to bid, or because, you've kind of taken the human element out of it, right? There's no negotiating. So how do you know that you can get houses for that cheap relative from one house to the next, I guess?
Well, I will tell you this. It's difficult to tell exactly what they will take for a house. Okay. I mean, listen, if we knew that, then there would be no HUD houses left. Everybody would know what to bid. Right. Right. But we have a couple of different methods and we can get into that as well. But the thing that I found is, I'm right here, Mike, in the Charlotte MSA, Charlotte, North Carolina. Although I'm in South Carolina, I'm right across the state line from Charlotte, North Carolina. But it's been about 3+ years since I bought a house in Charlotte. Okay. I like to buy the smaller towns, smaller communities where people were born and raised. They have a sense of community. They have family ties there. They're not going anywhere, and they want to live and raise a family. Yeah. And that's where I buy most of my houses. Okay. In the big MSAs, like where you are, I mean, there's a ton of competition.
Oh, yeah.
Market up, right?
Oh, yeah.
See, if you get out of those areas, you can get really good deals. Not only deals, but you can get steals. Yeah. Just like the one I bought for 35% just a couple of weeks ago. And it had only been on the market for 19 days. I mean, come on. It hadn't even had a price reduction yet.
Yeah. And so somebody at HUD is also looking at that saying, hey, this is in a more rural area. So we're going to list it for this price, but we'd be willing to take this because we know. I guess somebody is evaluating, hey, the days on market out here in this small town are much higher than usual, or the last one we listed, it took forever, and therefore they kind of set, I guess behind the scenes, they're setting kind of a minimum acceptable price or something.
Well, it's not really much different than if Bank of America forecloses on a property. Yeah. A HUD is going to hire an asset manager that's going to hire a realtor to give them a BPO and determine what they think they could sell the property for. Okay. Yeah, because out in these, and listen, I don't buy all the houses in the smaller towns, rural areas, and all that. In fact, I try to stay away from rural. I want to be in smaller communities, bedroom communities of bigger areas, but where there's less competition. Yeah. And the other thing that I've noticed is typically this last house I just told you about, it was on the market for 19 days, but typically what I've seen is they're going to start coming down where they'll take 50, 40, 30% around the 50, 60, 70 day mark. Yeah. And they're not going to last that long in the big MSAs.
And when you put in a bid, like how long does it take to know that, hey, your bid's been rejected, and then can you just rebid on it right away and raise your price, or how does that work?
That's awesome, man. That's great. So when you put in a bid, okay, one of three things are going to happen. Either they're going to accept your bid, all right? And HUD is a daily auction every single day. Okay. I bid on every house in North and South Carolina every single day. And we've done
Okay.
deals in 12 different states.
Okay.
But I focus on the Carolinas, okay? But I bid on every HUD house in North and South Carolina every single day. Now, what happens is you put your bid in. By tomorrow, usually around by 3 o'clock at the latest, I'm going to have an answer back from the asset manager who is going to email the buyer's agent that submitted the bid, okay? And we have assistants that we pay to work for the agent. They're unlicensed assistants.
Yeah.
And they actually work for our buyer's agent doing the work for the buyer's agent,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So that way the buyer's agent doesn't have to sit in front of the computer for 2 or 3 hours, okay?
Right.
We hire an assistant to do that, and we pay them. The realtor's happy with that because they get a commission and they didn't have to do any work. So they love it, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is they either, if they don't accept your offer, nothing happens. Your bid simply expires, okay? It's over. You'll never hear from them again. You don't have to contact them. Your bid simply expired, okay? However, a little tip here. There's a box on there. Whenever you submit your bid or whenever a realtor submits the bid for you, you want to check that little box that says leave this bid open as a backup. Now, you're not going to get a ton of deals, but maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of them a year. They'll come back and accept your bid as a backup, okay, because another deal fell through.
I see.
Yeah. But if nothing happens, your bid simply expires. Or they could counter your bid. All right? They could counter. Maybe it's listed at 50, you offered 10, and they counter back at 40 or 45, which is about typical. They're going to be close to list price on their first counter, okay?
Yeah.
Or the third thing that can happen is they simply accept your bid.
Okay. And how often do they counter you versus you just not really knowing where to go from there? Like you don't really know how far off the mark you were.
Well, you know what I've found, Mike, is they counter a lot more now than they used to. I mean, we have a whole system. We have a spreadsheet. The cool thing about HUD also, when you go and do your lookup of the properties you want to bid on, you can export that as a spreadsheet. And we export it into a Google Doc spreadsheet that we have created, and we merge the two together so we can keep track of our bids and the comps and links to Zillow and all that stuff. So then we have a VA go in and analyze it, pulling comps, pulling rent comps, driving the street, looking at the PCR, looking at all the pictures, and they put a number on it, okay? And then we have 5 different bids. We have our max bid. Let's say our max bid is $30,000, okay?
Yep.
So on Monday, our max bid is $30,000. On Monday, we're going to bid 26. Tuesday, 27, 28, 29, 30 on Friday. On Monday, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. It's a little more detailed than that.
Yeah.
It's a percentage because it's not an even number.
Yep.
We try to do an odd number anyway, but that's very similar to what it is. So we do 5 bids 5 days of the week.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And every day, I guess, and then you know the houses that that somebody else wins. I guess they just come off your list. They're not even available to bid on anymore, right?
Well, the other cool thing about it is the next day, if they accepted a bid from somebody else, it won't even show up on HUD's website. They pull it right down from the website.
Yeah. And you can tell which ones are new, I assume. Like
You can tell days on market. You can also look at when they did their inspection. That's another good indicator.
Yep.
How long when it was listed, how long the listing's for, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, Larry, talk about kind of getting started doing this because obviously you've been doing it for a while. You've got a system. You're bidding on 2 states. You know, a lot of people that listen to this show are new or newer investors. We got a bunch of veteran folks too because we've had so many kind of rock star guests on here. But if somebody if they're looking to get started in real estate investing, or they're just maybe doing a few deals here and there, and they don't really have maybe the resources that you have to kind of be doing this in mass, I mean, can they even compete against a big guy like you?
Well, you know what? I love that question because yes, they can compete because I'm a firm believer. I want your first deal to be a home run, not just a good deal, but a great deal. I want it to be a home run. Okay. And that's very, very important. So They don't have to compete against me because I've got a big office, I've got staff, I've got overhead, I've got assistants. I got a lot of mouths to feed out of every single deal.
I understand.
So, the guy out there watching this podcast, they're watching this show. They could go out there and pick up a house for 25 and flip it for 30, and they're going to make close to 5 on it. If I get it for 25 and flip it for 30, I'm going to make about $400.
Right.
Okay? So I'm buying, selling, got closing department. I got all that stuff.
Sure.
But somebody just starting, I've got 2 different methods that we bid on a property. Okay. I tell people anytime they first start out, you want to start out with the shotgun approach. Okay. I have a shotgun and a rifle approach. The shotgun approach is you simply enter a percentage of the list price. Here's an example. And listen, real estate is local, as I mentioned. All markets are different, but here's a typical type of example, okay? Anything listed $50,000 or less, bid 25%. 25%, okay? $50,000 or less. If it's 50 to 100, you might bid 35%, okay? And 100 plus, you're going to bid 50%. Okay?
Of the list price.
Of the list price.
Yeah.
Of the list price.
And then you said you kind of bid daily. You raise your bid a little bit daily, right?
Right. Well, whatever that number is, let's say it's 25% and the list price is 40. Well, 25% is $10,000.
Right.
Okay? So we might bid 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? So as an example.
Yep.
And then what we do, this is the best way to get some momentum going and get some volume going. You put your bids out there as a percentage, and then you start working the counters because you're going to get some counters. When we get a counter, we're going to go through there and analyze it. We're going to drive the street on Google Maps. We're going to pull comps. We're going to pull rent comps. We're going to look at the pictures. We're going to look at the PCR. We're going to do all that stuff. Now we're going to put an exact number on it. What can we pay for this property? And then we're going to change our bid on our spreadsheet. And the next day, when our assistant comes in, they're simply going to enter in the new bid.
Yeah, yeah. And you just said that, so you're going to look at the product condition sheet and all that. So originally you're not even doing that. You're offering it a price so low. And I guess with a HUD home too, even if they come back and accept your bid, it's not quite a done deal yet, right? You got to put in a deposit and you've got to formally sign the contract, right?
Exactly. And that is another good process about this whole thing. When HUD accepts a bid, okay, you have 2 business days to get all the signed paperwork in and get your deposit. Now, HUD is very consistent on this. If your purchase price that they accepted is $50,000 or less, it's a $500 deposit. If it's over $50,000, it's a $1,000 deposit. It's that way all over the country.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And you have 2 business days. Now, what they're going to do if they accept your bid, they're going to email your buyer's agent and say you've got a bid accepted, and they email them all the paperwork as well. The paper meaning the contract package.
Okay. Okay.
Now, there's no due diligence period. There's no inspection period. And if you send in that money and you don't close, you will never see that money again.
Yeah.
Okay? The only time you will ever see that money again is, and it's rare, but it's if they cannot close for some reason. Like we had one a few years ago where they had failed to do something correctly on the foreclosure, or the attorney handling it did. So they had to go through the foreclosure process again. They didn't serve notice correctly or something. Okay. So they had to do that. They asked us, do you want to leave this bid open? So yes, we did. We said, just let us know.
Yeah.
So 3 months went by, 6 months went by, 9 months went by. Finally, about a year later, we inquired about it. Well, we're still working on it. So we said, just go ahead and cancel it and give us our money back.
Yeah.
Then it took about another 3 or 4 months to get the deposit back.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, hey, Larry, I've got a question to ask you. This is actually a social question that we got off of Facebook from Johnny Moore. And awesome. I don't know Johnny personally, but I've seen him posting a lot. He's actually not far from me here in Dallas. I've seen him fairly active on Facebook. But his question for you is, so not necessarily HUD specific, but you do a lot of investing, is what's the one thing that you think an investor could do to take their business from 6 figures to 7 or 8 figures?
Awesome. Awesome. In other words, what's the one thing you could do to scale your business?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great, great question. I'm sure you've talked about this before on FlipNerd. Is in any kind of business, when you go from being a one-man show to building an organization, in any organization, usually the founder is the visionary. The visionary needs an integrator. Okay.
Yeah.
and you know about all about traction and rocket fuel and the EOS entrepreneurial operating system. You probably even talked about it before.
Yep, we have.
Yeah. So
we've had Frank, Frank's been on, Frank Curtin. Frank's been on the show before. He's actually an implementer for that. So yeah, go ahead, please continue.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys need to listen to that podcast. Watch that podcast as well. So it's all about EOS, entrepreneurial operating system. So the visionary has the big picture. Where are we going to go? You know, what's the big grand goal? Okay.
Yeah.
The integrator works on the day to day. What's going on right now in the business? In other words, the visionary's got this big plan and goal. The integrator says, okay, well, this quarter we can do this, this, and this, but we can't do this, 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 and this.
Right.
And here's the steps we're going to do to get there.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Candace is our integrator. She's like a daughter to me. I love her to death, and she's phenomenal. She keeps everybody on point and on track, even me.
Yeah.
Because I was telling them this morning in a meeting, I said, guys, I would love to be able to do this, but I can't stay focused for 12 minutes, let alone 12 days or 12 months.
Yeah.
You know?
I know how that feels, my friend, so I get it. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I would say, typically, this is one of the challenges that I teach people on all the time is, as real estate investors, a lot of people leave their job or they do different things to kind of achieve this financial freedom only to create a new job for themselves, right? Because they end up doing everything, whether they're good at it or not. They just are a one-man band or a one-woman band, and there's no way you can scale your business if you get yourself in that situation.
That's exactly right. And you want to get to the point where your business is working for you, not you're working in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, a few more questions on HUD houses, Larry. So
Sure.
One question I had is there a way to kind of, because you do a lot of volume, do you get any favoritism over the small guy that's just buying one here or there or trying to buy? I mean, is it with a lot of things in this business, over time you build relationships, you build kind of a network that all ends up paying kind of dividends for a long period of time. Does that come up in the HUD area at all?
I wish I could say they knew who I was. It gave me a little bit of privilege. I mean, like, hey, I've taken hundreds of properties off your website for you. You know?
Yeah.
I think they look at it just the opposite. If any little thing comes up, if I happen to send somebody out to look at a property or send somebody out to inspect or whatever, and they're all over us. They'll be on our buyer's agent about it. If we do something wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll threaten to not sell you any houses anymore or threaten to not let that agent be able to submit any more bids.
Wow.
So I would love to say that they give me some preferential treatment because we have hundreds of HUD houses, but that's not the case at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's good news for people that are listening that are trying to get started to this. You can't say, well, I can't ever match Larry Goins and his team.
Right.
The playing field's fairly level, right?
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question about
that. Well, for folks that are listening to this, Larry, that are like, I want to go do this. How do they even get started? I mean, they could look at the MLS and see houses that say they're a HUD home. But every real estate investor and their brother will say that they work. I'm sorry, every real estate agent will say, I can do HUD homes, or I could help you with that, right? But clearly there are some that are specialized in that area. But where do you even get started, I guess?
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up. That's kind of funny. But we've actually sold houses to agents that have NAID numbers. And I remember the first time we did this was years ago. We sold a house over in Kings Mountain, North Carolina, and we put it out to our list. We put it out on social media, on our website stuff, and an agent called up and said, this house is listed. It was something like $75,000. How are you able to sell it to me for $40,000? It's listed, or it was listed, for $75,000. How can you sell it for $40,000? I'm a realtor. I have an NAID number. My short answer is, do you want it or not? But it's because we submit a lot of bids.
Yeah.
you and I both know if this was easy, everybody would be doing
Right.
it. You know,
Yep.
heck, if life were easy, we would all be skinny, happy, and rich. Life is not easy. It is tough, okay? But I have simplified the process. If you will go through step by step by step, okay, you can do HUD houses. It is literally the simplest, fastest, easiest way I've ever seen to buy properties. And I'd buy a lot of HUD houses. It's a big percentage of what we buy.
Awesome, awesome. You have a book. I know you do some different training, but you have a book that talks all about HUD houses, right?
Exactly.
HUD Homes half off.
HUD Homes half off. Available wherever books are sold.
Awesome. Where would somebody get that book at, Larry?
Well, we created a special website just for your listeners. Now,
awesome.
You can go and get it. You can pay for it if you want to at the bookstore, Amazon, whatever. But if you would like a free copy for FlipNerd listeners only, go to LarryGoins.com. That's GOINS.com/FlipNerd. LarryGoins.com/FlipNerd. And you can get an absolute free copy.
Awesome. That's very generous. We'll add a link on the page here down below. So
that would be great. Also,
it
includes that spreadsheet I talked about as well that we merge everything with.
Oh, okay.
That spreadsheet is included with the book.
Awesome. Well, Larry, what are we missing? What have we not talked about yet related to HUD homes?
Well, I don't know. Maybe selling them.
We covered a lot of stuff. Yeah. Or do you? I mean, just to clarify. You're taking ownership of these, so you're not typically able to assign a HUD home. Is that right?
That's a great point. You cannot assign a HUD contract, okay? And it's as is, where is, no due diligence, no warranties, no guarantees, none of that stuff. So, but here's what we do, okay? Here's what we do. And this might be the missing piece right here. As soon as we get one under contract, we're going to go through and we're going to do all this stuff again. We're going to analyze the property. We're going to pull comps. We're going to pull rent comps. We're going to call the listing agent. We're going to call a local property manager. Because, see, it might be 2 hours this way or 4 hours this way. I don't really know.
Yep.
So we're going to do that. We're going to call an agent, call a property manager, go look at it if we can, or drive the street online, okay? We're going to run the comps again, run the rent comps again. We're going to look closely at the pictures. Is that a stain in the ceiling? Is this floor unlevel? We're going to go through the PCR again. Some of them have what's called a PCR summary, and it'll give you an estimate of the cost to cure the repairs, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to do that. We're going to do all of our due diligence, and you can, if you want to, if you're brand new, if you're just getting started, you could do a rehab estimate. You could do a CMA, comparative market analysis, done by an agent. You could get an appraisal. You could get an inspection. I don't do any of that stuff, okay? I don't do any of that, But then we're going to start marketing the property. If we know we're going to send in our deposit, we start marketing it right away. We send somebody out to take pictures. You can find somebody on Craigslist. You can find somebody at BPO Photo Flow. BPO Photo Flow. They're just a field service rep that they work for asset managers, and they go out and inspect properties. You can also go to this website, WeGoLook.com.
Yeah.
For about $30 or $40, I believe it is, they'll go out and look at anything and take pictures of it and send it back to you. Okay? Then what we do is we put signs all over the neighborhood. If I'm wholesaling it, I have a yellow sign that has a big red arrow on it, and it says foreclosure. Okay, and it has the phone number, and it has a dollar sign, and we handwrite in the price. If it's a $60,000, $70,000 neighborhood, and we're picking it up for $30 and wholesaling it for $40, when people see that sign that says foreclosure, $40,000, they know it's a $60,000, $70,000 neighborhood. They know it's a deal, and they're going to call. The phone rings off the hook.
Yeah.
So we're going to put signs. We put out about 20 signs for every property.
Wow.
All over the neighborhood. We put them everywhere except in front of the house.
Okay.
We don't own it yet, right?
Right.
So we put them out in the neighborhood. We put them out in front of convenience stores, Walmart, CVS, all those different places. And then the phone rings off the hook, and we qualify the buyer. Are you a cash buyer? Do you need financing? Are you looking to buy something to live in, to rent out, to fix and flip? And then we know which direction to lead them in.
Yeah. And do you have any restrictions on selling it to folks that need to get financing? I mean, obviously you're going to need to probably sit on it longer, right? But are there any restrictions on reselling a HUD home in terms of like seasoning, if you will?
Actually, there's only one requirement as far as seasoning, and a lot of people get confused about this, is the only time there's a seasoning issue, meaning you have to hold the property for a certain length of time, say 90 days, is if you are selling it to somebody that's going to get another FHA loan.
Right.
Otherwise, you could buy it for $50,000 today and sell it this afternoon for $75,000
yeah.
or $150,000.
And that's not specifically a HUD home, a HUD house issue. That's, I mean, even when I buy houses from sellers, there's a seasoning issue, which FHA, you know, up until this past year, they kind of waived that. It wasn't necessarily a requirement, but a lot of lenders still kind of followed it, FHA lenders, but now they do enforce that. So yeah, awesome.
Exactly.
Awesome.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, not necessarily just a HUD home issue. So awesome. Right. Well, and you know, one of the things that we've done, because the market's so strong, quite frankly, is we've just started to, because when we buy and sell houses, like I have a house earlier this week that we bought and we listed it the next day. I mean, it was an as-is type house. You know, it's livable. It needs some updates, but we're doing a lot of that because the market's so hot, and we just literally say no FHA buyers, because I don't want to sit on it for 3 or 4 months, and the market's so hot that people can get conventional loans or they can find other ways to get money. So in the past, you know, in a market like Dallas, you know, a lot of pretty reasonable price home. Probably, I don't know, a percentage of the market was FHA loans, but it was a lot relative to like California, where the prices are a lot higher. People are probably using more conventional loans, but now we just flat out say no FHA and haven't really had any problems with it.
There you go. That's great. That's great. There's so many different kind of loan programs available now.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily use FHA, but you know, I love HUD houses because I've even paid more than list for houses. I know that's not uncommon where you live, but in the Carolinas, it's very uncommon to pay list or above list for a property.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have all that support pushing up the prices.
Right.
But I paid 103% for a HUD house, and I got it on the very first day it was available to investors.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was listed for $44,000. I paid $45,600, and just to try to get the house, I kept, you know, raising, what should I bid? What should I bid? And the realtor said, I mean, it was a $100,000 house easily.
Yeah.
I sold it for $89,900 and didn't touch it. Did not touch it.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Well, Larry, if folks want to learn more about you, I know you do a lot of training programs and you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of information on your website. Where should they go to look you up? Yeah,
just our website, LarryGoins.com. We have a radio show called Brag Radio. It's all about investing to be rich and generous, you know, where we teach people how to invest and then help them to share their blessings with others of time and money. That's awesome. Why we call it Brag, Be Rich and Generous. And, you know, brag kind of has a little negative thing, but I like the sound of it, you know.
Yeah.
And when people understand what you're really talking about, they're like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Is your radio show, is that just in the Carolinas, or can people listen to that online? Or?
Well, you can listen to it on iHeartRadio.
Okay.
And it's on the home of the Panthers, Carolina Panthers, WBT Radio in Charlotte. And it'll soon be syndicated on some other stations as well, but iHeartRadio, and we archive them at LarryGoins.com.
Okay, so you got them all on your website there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, Larry, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And this is great information. We haven't talked about HUD homes. We talked about it one other time in 335 episodes, and that was actually with you, but that was almost 2.5 years ago. So
wow.
Yeah, you're still trucking. Good to see you, my friend.
Man, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on, and Happy New Year. And everybody that's listening, thanks for joining us for another episode. We've got hundreds of episodes, as we just talked about. If you haven't been listening to the show for a while, welcome, and check some more out. And otherwise, we're going to keep bringing you some great guests like Larry. And just subscribe to us on iTunes, subscribe to us on Stitcher Radio if you're not an iPhone, you're not an Apple person. But appreciate you. And Larry, thanks again for being with us today, my friend.
Thanks a lot, man. Have a great day.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the FlipNerd.com Investing Show. If you're not yet an elite member of FlipNerd, you're missing out. We have tons of great training, including a new detailed masterclass published each month. and live training webinars with experts twice a month. Plus, you'll get access to all of our archives, where we already have a growing library of masterclasses and other training videos. Elite members also get membership in our incredible online mastermind group, where many of the top real estate investors from across the country, including many of the hundreds of guests I've had on the show in the past, are already members. Whether you're brand new, looking to get started, or a veteran, you simply must join today. I promise you won't be disappointed. To learn more or join today, please visit flipnerd.com/lab. That's flipnerd.com/lab. See you on the next show.